everybody? It's your boy Dead on Dave. A very frustrated Dead on Dave, and my hat's all messed. Oh my goodness, what is going on? Okay, check it out. I did an hour and 20 minutes with Ed Crowley. We answered questions. We did some fantasy booking. It was a great show. And this time, it was not my fault that we did not get any of it. You see, we recorded it all. In fact, I actually uploaded it for about 5 minutes, and then when I looked through it, and the audio on his end was absolutely terrible. He sounded like every time he talked, but more robot-y, and it was just terrible. So I'm very upset over that. However, not a big deal. Clear my throat. Not a big deal. I'm here. I'm back. We're going to knock this thing out. I am going to do your viewer questions one more time, baby, because that's what I do. So we're going to go ahead and knock this out and have some fun. And, and the lost episode, the Crowley episode. And this has happened a lot with Crowley. His internet connection is just friggin' terrible, and my internet connection sucks. So when you have two crappy European internet connections, that's what happens. Boom. Crap. Terrible. So, anyway, let's go ahead and get to the top five. Or, no, not a top five. Let's go ahead and get to the viewer questions. Oh, God. Yeah, this is going to be a day. Dr. Bostonian, you get the first question of the day. And this wasn't on the other show because it's a brand new question. So, hey, our screw up is your gain, Dr. Bostonian. Good job. Name 5 current wrestlers that have shitty gimmicks that aren't booked that much. Okay. Fandango, who's a great wrestler. Johnny Curtis, fantastic wrestler. Terrible gimmick. He's kind of one of those victims of his theme was so over. I mean, he had a chant, Fandangoing was so over that people didn't realize that he wasn't over. So he's definitely one. I think Cesaro and his lack of gimmick is actually a problem. Cesaro's great. He's getting used more. He needs to be repackaged somehow. I don't know how. And people could say, why? He's a great wrestler. I agree with you. He is a great wrestler. But what Vince said about him not connecting is 100% accurate. He doesn't connect. There's something wrong. Now, yes, people can point back to, he was getting so over. Was he? I'm not so sure. His move, the Cesaro swing, was getting over. There's no question about that. So what did WWE do? They paired him with the hottest heel manager ever, maybe, but certainly in the company, coming off of a hot angle, Paul Heyman. And they were like, well, let's see what's over, him or the move. Take away the move, Cesaro's not over. And that's the problem. There's something lacking with Cesaro, and we don't know what. So something has to change there. Adam Rose. Adam Rose is another one. Great wrestler. Great wrestler. Terrible gimmick. Terrible gimmick. Needs to be repackaged desperately. Or if they continue to further this dark side party animal, that could be really good. I feel that would have been a perfect gimmick for the Attitude Era. And, who knows what they're going to do with more edgy content. He could be perfect for that. Zack Ryder. Zack Ryder is probably the king of bad gimmick and never being used. Now, people could say, but his Long Island Ice Z got over. No, I don't think so. I think this is one of those cases where Zack Ryder, the personality of Zack Ryder, got over. If they find a way to just capitalize on him being him, I think that would work, but it's not right now. And the 5th, partially because of his injury, and also because of the fact that his gimmick worked in NXT, but it's not working in WWE. His chant kind of worked, the Believe, but Bo Dallas. Bo Dallas, that's a terrible gimmick for the WWE. It was a good gimmick down in smaller arenas, like in NXT, but up the big time, it's a terrible gimmick. Absolutely terrible gimmick. They can change that if they put him in a program with his brother. because they're both basically the same type of guy, just coming from different ends of the spectrum. So I think those are 5 that I think are pretty easy, self-explanatory. A couple others, the New Day, the entire New Day, terrible gimmick, and now they're not being used that much. Tyson Kidd could probably be thrown into that situation as well. Heath Slater, because they don't know what to do with the guy, so they have the one-man rock band thing because it's the only thing he can do. How about some of the divas? I think Natalya needs some kind of a gimmick change. This whole Queen of Hearts thing I don't think works very well. Look, she doesn't connect right. She's a great worker. Needs something new. Needs something fresher. I don't know what. Don't ask me what. I have no idea as to what. But she needs something more fresh. I think that's pretty evident at this point. I think that's a pretty good list of guys right there. Hanina Sakura Johnston. What are your top 5 Brock Lesnar matches of all time? Now, I want to do an entire show on this, and I'm going to, when Brock Lesnar wraps up his current run with WWE after WrestleMania. Of course, that is if he does leave. So I'm going to answer that question fuller at a later time. But what I want to do instead is I want to talk about a couple of my favorite Brock Lesnar moments of all time and just kind of snowball there. Every time Brock Lesnar screams, I absolutely love it. It's fantastic. Let's do this. Yeah, it's fantastic. I used him screaming as my opening for a very long time because it's so damn good. It's so funny. There's that. And just seeing Brock Lesnar whoop ass is always great, isn't it? I mean, it's just one of those things that never gets old. You never get tired of seeing it. I'm a big fan of when he does talk. That's just me, because you never know what he's gonna say. The depths of his stupidity is hysterical. Well, no, not stupidity. That's the wrong word. But you know what I mean. The guy just can't talk very well, and that's okay. Not everybody can, but he's definitely not stupid. That was the wrong word, because he's not stupid at all. He's actually really, really well spoken at times. And he's a pretty smart guy. Speaking of... One more time. Yeah, that never gets old. I love that thing. It's great. I love Brock Lesnar. His match with Kurt Angle when he botched the moonsault. I believe it was WrestleMania 20. A match that did not, this move did not need to happen. The match was already over. It was fantastic. Everybody was so happy with it. It was a great match. And Kurt Angle actually takes responsibility for this and says he called the audible, he called the play, said, hey, why don't you go ahead and hit this moonsault, which Brock was hitting back then very easily. I mean, the guy has the athleticism to do it. He didn't this time. I don't know what after a long match, he just didn't have it in his legs and landed right on his friggin' head and could have killed him. Could have crippled him. It didn't, thank God. And more impressively, Brock Lesnar went on to finish the match. So that's one of my favorite moments. But my all-time favorite Brock Lesnar moment is, it's generic, I know, because it's everybody's, but when he superplexed the Big Show off the top rope, made the ring explode. That was awesome. That was awesome, man. It was so good. Just one of those moments that was incredible. A lot of fun. And it felt real. Like, man, that much humanity, that's what you're going to get. And it was incredible. And they tried to remake it with Mark Henry in the Big Show, and I don't feel that it worked as well. But still, it's just one of those cool things that was so much fun to see. Brock Lesnar's had a great career. And, of course, you can't talk about Brock Lesnar without him beating the streak. That reaction that he got after, the stunned looks, it's just priceless. It's absolutely great. Eddie N asks, that was a lot of in there. Eddie N, what's the top 5 botched promos of all time? I didn't do a good job of answering this question when I did it with Crowley earlier. And I'm not going to do a good job of answering it now. I'm just not. I'm going to talk about some of the good botches that has happened. The Psycho Sid botch is probably one of my favorites, where he was just completely just forgot everything that he was going to say and tried to restart the interview in the middle of the interview. That was great. There's a lot of good ones. Declare, let's do this. That's great. There's so many fantastic ones out there. But, there's one I think that, and I didn't say this earlier, I think there's one that stands head and shoulders above the others. I don't think it's hard to figure it out what it is. It is clearly fantastic, and I don't think I still have it. Unfortunately, I wish I did. I don't think I still have the clip. If I did, I would play it, but I don't have the clip. Booker T. Hulk Hogan, we want, sucker. Hulk Hogan, we come for you, nigga. Oh my God, it's the greatest botch of all time because it's just so real. You look at that video, and I broke it down before. I don't need to break it down again. But Sherry trying to be supportive, Stevie Ray no-selling the entire thing, and Booker T just wallowing in his own embarrassment. It doesn't get any better than that. Too good. And he's done it again. He did it on commentary. Booker T has done it again. Yeah, it's great. It's great. I love Booker T. Old book. Jack Mad. Do you think Cesaro and Curtis Axel could have a good rivalry between each other? Also, what belts would you bring back into the WWE? First, yes, I think Curtis Axel and Cesaro could have a good rivalry. Here's the problem. Nobody would care about it. These are two guys that just don't connect. I talked about it earlier with Cesaro. For whatever reasons, they're both good workers. I think they both have good looks. I don't know if they're either super strong on the mic, and maybe that's part of the problem. I think they could have a fantastic rivalry. I would love to see it. I just don't know if right now is the time or the place to do it. It might happen when they both leave the company eventually. I think these two could be top guys. They could, if somebody can figure out how to get them over, because they're not, neither one of them, and arguably never have been, and they've both been given major pushes, and both have been with Paul Heyman. Very odd. They've both failed under the tutelage of Paul Heyman. Isn't that weird? I don't know. So, yes, I would like to see it. I think it could be a good rivalry, just not now, because nobody's going to give a shit. Maybe they could build them over a belt or something. I don't know. Speaking of belts, what belts would you bring back to the WWE? Well, I could not bring a belt without taking a belt away. So the first thing I would do, is I'm booking right now, I would get rid of the United States Championship. It's completely useless, and it devalues the Intercontinental title because people don't know which one is the true second title. And because we don't have two championships anymore or two brands, there's really no point in having two main secondary titles. So I would get rid of that. Some designs I would make changes of, as I'd bring back the old tag team titles, WWE tag team titles, and go back to the old Winged Eagle WWE Championship belt, or any other of the designs in the past. I take the gold brick over this, what we have now, the WWE Championship, and even the spinner belt. But you know why? Because they're toys. They look like toys. Do you know why they look like toys? So they can help actually sell real toys. And that's what they do. And it's unfortunate because it's more prestigious than that. They should not. Everything shouldn't be about the merch. Everything shouldn't be about sellability. That Winged Eagle was prestigious, and it was great, and I loved it. And I'd love to see it back. But as far as what title would I bring back, it would be the TV title, the television championship. And I'll tell you why. Because I think, yes, you have the secondary title and Intercontinental title. That's the one that is that next tier. But you need a belt that can be the working man belt. You need a title that can be defended on every live event, which is the television championship. And guys like Cesaro, Axel, Kid, Cesaro, Adam Rose, Fandango, all these guys would have something to do. They could be battling over that, and it would get prestigious. People like a title change, and it would be really cool. And the cool thing is, you don't ever have to defend it on a pay-per-view. You don't have to because it's going to be defended on every Raw and SmackDown. So you don't necessarily have to build it into these big programs where they culminate at a pay-per-view. And if they do, it could always seem bigger than what it was. So I think that's a really good way of doing it. That's just my opinion. While I'm on Jack Mad, I would like to talk about something that happened a couple days ago with a viewer, or yesterday, I should say, and it was Dr. Not Bostonian. I'm sorry. Let me get the exact guy's name because I just want to address this real quick because I feel I am pretty fair with getting everybody on the show and giving proper shout outs and all of that stuff. I think I give everyone a lot of credit, but Dr. Duke wrote me yesterday in the comment section, and I think it's because last week he wrote, when I let the viewers pick my top 5, as I do that, sometimes I let the viewers pick the top 5. I do a viewer question show, which you're watching right now, where I always address the viewers. I have viewers on shows that I do through the middle of the week. I'm constantly acquiescing to the viewers. I'm constantly coming to you guys because you're what make this channel go. But Dr. Duke wrote, don't mean to sound like I'm criticizing Dave, but your viewers would feel more involved if you gave them a shout out for their suggestions. Anyway, keep up the good work, man. I didn't quite understand that because I give shout outs to everybody. I think he might have been the one who wrote last week that a future top 5 should be top 5 greatest managers of all time, which is something I've been wanting to do for a long time anyway. But he did write that, and I did not say before the show, Dr. Duke, thank you for doing it. I didn't think it was necessary because I'm fairly certain I gave him a shout out on it on last week's viewer questions or the top 5 show last week. One of those shows because I went through everything that was written to me. So it's possible I didn't. And if I did not, I do apologize for that. I don't think it's that big of a deal. I didn't think it was really worth bringing up considering I am pretty good about doing this 99.9% of the time. So I wrote back basically what I just said. I'm very dedicated to the viewers. I dedicate shows to you guys and all of that. So I was just basically trying to explain my side of things and hoping that we can get a dialogue going because that's what I try to do. Well, Jack Mad, who just wrote a question, goes, think before you comment, Dr. Duke. Keep up the good work, Dave. And I wrote to Jack, thanks, Jack. Glad you're digging the channel. Also, let's not be too hard on the good doctor. I'm sure he didn't mean no harm. I thought I would defuse the situation. At that point, Dr. Duke wrote another thing, and I'm pretty sure he's the one who downvoted the video too. How petty can you be? Bite me, jack off. Bite me, jack off. That's what he wrote. Did not feel that was called for. I try to keep this channel relatively free of trolls. I think everyone enjoys commenting not even trolls, just hate. Because I think everybody enjoys writing in the comment section. Sometimes some people can be the target of some jabbing and stuff, but a lot of that rolls over from the Joe Cronin show and stuff, where a lot of people are viewers from, which is fine. I don't mind it. However, I just felt like this guy took something personal that there was nothing personal to take. I was simply stating my position, But, look, you're more than welcome on the channel. I'll have you on the show if you like. And if I did not give you a proper shout-out last week, I do apologize. That being said, I didn't think your comment was warranted, and I'll continue to say that. So, hopefully you'll stay on channel. You might have unsubscribed already. That's quite possible because I did lose a subscriber. I'm assuming it was you. So you're probably not even watching this show right now. But if you are, if somebody out there knows him, please just let him know, hey, what the F, guy? Hey, come on, buddy. Hey. Anyways, back to the questions, shall we? Yes, we shall. Where was I? I don't know. Okay. So I think I hit all of those. Yeah, okay. All right. Brian Stewart writes, Brian Stewart, right? I can't find it. This sucks. Brian Stewart writes. I can't find it now. Oh, Jesus. Sorry about that. Completely got off. Just had a brain fart there. Found Brian Stewart's. Okay, how would you book Stardust and Goldust after Goldust retires? Okay, this is how I would do it. And I explained this to Crowley. He seemed to really like the idea. So I'll go ahead and try to capture the magic of how I described it earlier. What I would do is fairly simple. I would have a match between Cody and Stardust, which is obviously going to happen. It has to be Stardust and Goldust, it has to happen. It would have to be a 25-minute epic. It's got to be physical. They've got to be sweaty, and paint's got to be streaming. I want it so sweaty that at the end of the match, that Cody goes over clean. They are both mentally and emotionally exhausted, and the paint is completely off both their faces. And they get back to their feet, and there's a moment they're in the middle of the ring, and they just look at each other as Cody and Dustin. Cody says his goodbyes to his brother. They embrace. Goldust nods to the crowd, walks off, retires. The next day, Cody Rhodes shows up out of Stardust makeup in a suit, or just dressed down. Regular clothes would probably be better, to be completely honest. And he comes to the middle of the ring and he talks about his family's heritage. He doesn't get cocky. He talks very somber. Talks about what the match last night did to him and meant to him. And then he just kind of, says, big things are coming for Cody Rhodes. And he just walks out of the ring. Whoever wins the title match at WrestleMania, I don't care who, has a match on Raw. Don't care who. Cody inserts himself into that match and directly affects whatever happens in the champions match that night, setting up a feud between Cody Rhodes and whoever the champion is. Hopefully Seth Rollins, because that would be a great feud. And Cody Rhodes is directly into the title picture for the foreseeable future. It's time to find out what you have in Cody Rhodes. It's time to find out if the investment is everything that we think it has been. It's time. He's right around 30. It's time. There's no more waiting. This is it. That being said, that's what I would do. And you could also involve Dusty in there somehow as well, of course. That's what I would do. What will probably happen is we're going to get evil Stardust. Evil Stardust is going to be all over the place, acting weird, doing weird things, maybe going after the Intercontinental title, maybe even the United States Championship. Who knows? Something like that. He's going to be mischievous. He'll probably be some kind of like gremlin-like creature. That's probably what will happen. But I feel what I said is what should happen. I think it's a better way to book Cody. That's just my opinion, because I think he's great. I really do. Final honors this week. Final question goes to Devious Dave Rose, my man, guy who's on the show quite a bit. Dave Rose, what would you say, who would you say are the top 5 Latino wrestlers of all time? This was not an easy question, and I stumbled over it quite a bit when I did this with Crowley. I believe the conversation has to start with Eddie Guerrero. I don't think there's any question. He's probably number 1. It's hard to go against him. For one, Eddie is universally loved. Universally loved. You forget the progression of Eddie Guerrero. Starting out in ECW and WCW and stuff. And, of course, in the Texas League Wrestling and all of that. All the Texas Indies. Remember, the Guerreros, yes, they're Mexican royalty, whatever, but they're Texas royalty. The Guerreros are Texas royalty. And they're a great family. One of the greatest families in all of wrestling. Probably a top 5, top 6 family. So Eddie starts off just being a Texan. He doesn't really have a Mexican accent. He's just Texan. And then over time, because of the need to fill a Mexican presence void in both WCW and really in WWE, Eddie becomes more Mexican, the LWO and Viva la Raza, and Latino Heat, and all this stuff, which was fine, but it really wasn't him. You know, the Mamacita, people loved that, but I didn't, because I felt Eddie was more than that. I felt Eddie had already paid his dues. But it worked in the Attitude Era, and it was nice, and he had some great feuds and great rivalries over the Intercontinental Championship and all of that stuff. He was great, absolutely fantastic. When he became a real main eventer and a champion, that's when things got truly amazing for Eddie Guerrero, and his legacy is going to be forever lasting. Not only is he one of the greatest Latino, not only is he the greatest Latino wrestler, he's one of the greatest superstars in history. I think other guys, Rey Mysterio, of course, you got to talk about Rey. I feel he's overrated, but he's definitely groundbreaking in what he was able to do. Had he not gotten hurt, who knows? I think his career would have been 10 times what it was, because he was so good before that. At like 19, 20, before that first knee injury, God, he could have been special. But I also feel he's very simplistic, and like you always know what a Rey Mysterio match is going to look like. And some of the other guys that have been around in the Latino world, and I feel other luchadors, guys like Juventud Guerrera, I don't feel they're as predictable as Rey Mysterio. That's just my opinion. Pedro Morales, you kind of almost have to have him 1-2, 1 or 1A with Eddie Guerrero because of how decorated he is. He's right there with Eddie as far as decorated champions. I mean, WWE first ever Latino heavyweight champion. On top of that, he held the Intercontinental United States and Tag Team belts. I mean, this guy had a long career, illustrious, fantastic. It's a great career. Pedro Morales is a legend in every sense of the word, and he's a Hall of Famer. Got in 1995. He's fantastic. Love Pedro Morales. Tito Santana, you got to at least bring him up, right? I mean, I'm not a fan of Tito. Never thought he was all that great, but he was super, super popular. He was ridiculously over with the crowd, so he's definitely worth bringing up. Guys, I'm gonna not even stop this at 5 because I don't feel we talk enough about Latino wrestlers and the Mexican culture in wrestling, which is absolutely amazing. And there's some great guys right now down in AAA and Lucha that are really tearing the house down. You should check them out. Alberto Del Rio, I think you have to talk about him. Maybe not anything that he did within a WWE. More of what he did in AAA and down in the Mexican Indies and stuff. That guy was tearing shit up with Mystico and everything. He's fantastic. You know, she's great. Dos Caras. You know, the son of legendary luchador Dos Caras. And remember, he was a masked wrestler for a long time. And he was Dos Caras Jr. in Mexico. He was a great wrestler. I didn't really give a crap too much about him afterwards, but that's just me. I think you have to talk about the Colon family. You know, Carlos Colon. You got to talk about Carlito. You got to talk about Primo and Epico. That entire Colon family and everybody that is involved in that. You got to talk about them. Mil Mascaras, of course. You got to talk about Mil Mascaras. Fantastic, legendary Mexican luchador. I mean, it doesn't get too much better than him. You know, maybe not as much as some of the others, but you know, Melina is Latina, and she's fantastic. I loved what Melina did. I felt she had a great career. Not only did I think she was one of the hottest divas of all time, the things she was able to do, if she would have had more time to develop and she would have been able to have some better storylines and more important, more wrestling time, she was really turning into a super, super wrestler. Too bad she's got a shit attitude from what I understand. And speaking of Latinas, you got to talk about Lita. Got to talk about Lita, right? I mean, sweet Jesus. Maybe one of the greatest divas of all time. Top 4. Easy. Top 3 probably. Maybe even top 2. Some people would say Lita is the greatest diva of all time. I'm not one of those people, but she's fantastic. So she's got to be talked about. Chavo. Chavo, in his mind, is probably the greatest Mexican wrestler of all time. In his mind. The greatest Latino wrestler of all time. Because Chavo drinks his own Kool-Aid. He is the Latino version of Jeff Jarrett. Chavo thinks he knows everything about the industry. And maybe he probably knows more than I do. and that's fine, but Chavo is an asshole. He just comes off that way to me, man. And I would love to interview him. Now I probably will never interview him because I just called him an asshole, but I don't know. I'm just not a huge fan of Chavo. Some of the stories that I've read about him, I don't know if they're true. I'd love to talk to him about some of the things. It is what it is. I don't feel his talent ever has backed up his mouth. Just my opinion. I liked guys like Savio Vega. I enjoyed guys like that. I'm a fan of Sin Cara. I was a bigger fan of Mystico. You got to talk about guys like Psychosis and Super Crazy. Those are important guys to talk about, of course. La Parca. Hector Garza. The entire Garza family was crazy. Conan, K-Dog. I was not a huge fan of K-Dog, but I do not ever take away from what he did. You know, it's pretty impressive. Pentagon. There are so many guys. I mean, like I can go deep into Mexican wrestling. You know, Extreme Tiger and stuff like that. El Zorro. You know, these are some fantastic wrestlers that people never talk about, and they'll probably never be talked about. But if you go down to Mexico and you see some of these guys, you'll be talking about them. I guarantee you that. So I think those are just some of the guys that definitely need to be brought into the conversation a little bit more often. There's some great ones. Jushin Liger, who's not really a Mexican wrestler, but I unfortunately I just saw him on a list. I don't know what Jushin Liger is. I know that he was in Japan for a long time. I don't know. I'm sure in some version of him, because I know he's been played by different guys over the years. I'm sure one version of him had to be. It's kind of like Sin Cara, Hunico. I mean, Hunico is a hell of an athlete too. I'm sure I missed a bunch of guys. There's a lot out there, and not all of them get the credit they deserve. So I think those are some of the dudes that definitely need to be talked about when bringing up Latino wrestlers. So I hope that answered your question, Dave. I hope you enjoyed that little segment. I'm sorry that I'm a little down right now. I'm just kind of really pissed off that I did so long earlier and it will never see the light of day. And now I've got to do other shows, so I could not put as much time into this one as I would have liked. However, thank you guys for joining me yet again. I appreciate it. Make sure you always like, subscribe, and share. Your support of the channel means everything to me. There should be a State of WWE coming up with Joe Cronin here, him and I doing our thing. So hopefully that'll get done sometime today. I'll be doing some Creators Corners today. That'll be a lot of fun. So next week we should have a really good one. And I think that's about it. So thank you guys. If you want to get your Dead on Dave gear, make sure you check out deadondave.spreadshirt.com. And like, subscribe, and share. If you have any suggestions, if you have any questions, anything, please put them in the comment section. I will get to them shortly. We got some big things coming soon. We got some potential new shows. We got some potential new people. And I have one potentially great concept that I'm going to be bringing at some point. So we got a lot of good stuff coming up. I hope you guys enjoy it. I hope you dig it all. Your feedback is always important. Make sure you follow me on Twitter at ThatOnDaveV. Check out the Facebook page, facebook.com/This Guy's Take on It for some friggin' reason. It is what it is. Or just if you want to call me a douchebag or whatever right here on YouTube, that's fine and dandy. Google+, I'm everywhere. I'm blowing up the world. So thank you guys for all the support. We are well on our way to the 500 subscribers mark. I appreciate everything you guys have done to help get me there. And remember, once we do, we will be doing a giveaway, giving away the legendary subscription box where I've been putting items from all my unboxing videos into this block. And once we get to 500 subs, I will draw a name at random from subscribers, and I will give away the box. So hope you guys enjoyed that. Thank you so much for all the support. I hope you enjoyed the video. We'll see you next time. I am Dead on Dave. This is Dead on Dave Productions, Daily Focus. Viewer questions. Peace.